It turns out that Joel, in his personal investigation, discovered that Mud Dog was really Patrick Coleman. And so he lodged charges against him. Fair charges. But you see, Patrick Coleman had something going for him. He was David Janice's friend. And David Janice takes care of his friends. Joel filed a peace bond. And that didn't go anywhere. Finally, he had to file charges again. Twice he's filed charges again. And even none other than Donna Meadows Price ordered the sheriff to make the arrest. But remember, Donna Meadows Price is not going to tell David Janice what to do. So they managed to get a summons to him. I guess mailed it. And so that case is coming up. You know, ironically, it's the same day that mine's coming up. Now remember, I'm accused of a crime on August 11th. Patrick Coleman was accused of crime a year before that. Well, do I commend Donna Meadows Price for being so fast with my case? Or do I criticize her for being so slow with Patrick Coleman's case? Well, if you come to our meeting at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, on Monday, we're going to have an interesting double feature. You're going to get a chance to see this county court in action. Now, Pocahontas County is notorious for treating people with favoritism. Ben Wilfong. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot. Robbie Alcar. How many of us remember Robbie Alcar? Do you remember he was a sheriff's son? You remember David Walton, the guy who came to my house and took my computers and took all my data? That's the same guy that showed up for Robbie Alcar when he was down there exhausting his weapon. David Walton took him off for 3 days to hide him away, protect the sons. Now you can't arrest the sheriff's son in Pocahontas County. That's some sort of special rule they have here. But you know, this same David Walton wanted to be sheriff. And I didn't think he had the character to be sheriff. I didn't think he was fit to be sheriff. Now, to my next subject. There is no factual support for Fleming's charges. This is entirely a political matter. No more, no less. I want to know where David Fleming lives. Now, not just lives now, I want to know where he was living on August 11th. I want to know where he was living the day after he moved from his wife's home after the divorce. Now, I'm telling you that I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to know where your county commissioner lives. Now, they may at this very moment come and haul me away saying that I violated my bond, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm standing up for free speech and freedom of the press, and I want to know where David Fleming is living. You see, there's a reason for that. If he is not living in Pocahontas County, and I'll find something here in just a moment. If he's not living in Pocahontas County, or excuse me, even living out of his district, I'll have to skip that. If he's not living in his district, he no longer is a county commissioner. It's just de facto. It's called operation of law. It means you don't live in a district, you're no longer a county commissioner. We're paying this guy $34,500 a year. And when he chose to run for that office, he was making a promise to us that he would continue to live in his district. Now, I didn't know at that point where he lived. I don't even know to this day where he lived. I haven't even been on the Sheets Road lately. But I needed to find out. I did the logical thing. I went to a county commission meeting. And I did the second most logical thing. I went to Sue Helton and I said, I want on the agenda. Well, what do you want on the agenda for? I said, I want to be on the agenda so that I can raise a question as to the validation of where David Fleming is living. They put me on the agenda. Or maybe I should say they put me on the agenda for about a day. Then I got word that I was no longer on the agenda because that wasn't appropriate. Well, I want to tell you how appropriate I think it was. If David Fleming was not living in this district, he was not a legal county commissioner. And if he was getting paid, still continuing to be paid, and he wasn't living in the district, that was the same thing as stealing public money. We posted an example of someone who was looking at prison time because they defrauded the people of their district by moving out of it. What a sad thing. What a sad commentary. That they put the messenger in jail. All I did was ask the question. It is a legitimate question. Now, wouldn't you assume that if somebody got a divorce that they're probably not living at home? Now, he put something in the Pocahontas Times, said he was living at Greenbank and Dunmore. I know enough about this county to know that those are not one place. Those are two separate places. So I'm asking a question. Was he living at Dunmore or was he living at Greenbank? Well, if he can't figure out where he's living, somebody's got to do the job, and so I asked him. Now, here's what I did, and they've already told me that whatever I say can be used against that. That was Donna read me my Miranda rights, but that was only then, and that was after the fact. So I guess I take a chance on this when I say this. I asked the Taters to help me find David Fleming. Now, I admit I'd heard a couple rumors. I'd heard a rumor that he was living with somebody in Marlington. Then I heard that he was living with somebody at Slave Fork. But none of those were in the district. And I knew that if he had moved out of his district when he got a divorce, that most likely David Fleming was living outside his district. But I didn't want to just be upfront about that. I wanted to make sure that David had a chance to answer the question himself. I think it was Joel Rosenthal who really got my goat when he said, well, why don't you ask him? Well, I did. Well, you can see what it got me. It got me thrown in jail. It cost me losing a $900 ticket to see my grandson in Seattle. It's not right to do that to someone who just asked a question. You see, I was a reporter in the past. Not much of a reporter, I admit. But I was a reporter. And I know the responsibilities that come with researching the truth. Finding out what the difference between the smoke and the reality. And I gave David a chance. You know what he told us? And you can see it on E-Tater. It's none of your business. Well, that's amazing. It's none of my business if a person who claims to represent me doesn't even live in the right district. I think it is my business. I think it was an opportunity that I needed to take. I think I owed it to me. I think I owed it to you. And most of all, David should have said, I'll tell you where I'm living. But boy, he didn't want to tell it. He went to the Pocahontas Times, or somehow they got in contact with him. And even then he wouldn't tell them. He said, well, I'm just living in my district up in the Greenbelt on the Sheets Road. Well, the Sheets Road's a pretty long road, and that doesn't tell me very fast. So I asked the Taters, come on, folks, tell me where he's living. Now, I'm being charged with stalking. Now, remember, my computer doesn't have any legs. I got a stand-up tower. It won't move unless I move it. How can I be stalking someone? You ever heard of Megan's Law? You ever heard of an Amber Alert? Should I file charges against someone who doesn't, for stalking, if an Amber Alert is issued, or if a